Good Monday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller. Welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's great to be with you. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. You, the viewer, you, the listener, can interact with the show by leaving your perspective in the comments section on any of the social streams you're watching the I Love CVille Show upon. A lot of news on today's bracket. On today's show, we have a saliva test that could be very impactful, done in conjunction with Yale University and the NBA Players Association as well. This test, which could be offered at $10 a clip and have results back in 3 hours or less, could really do some things for the world, for mankind, for travel, for leisure, for the economy. We'll cover that on the I Love CVille Show. Congress has taken a break for the summer to work on their suntans and to sip umbrella drinks by the pool. Can you imagine Nancy Pelosi in a two-piece, or Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell in a Speedo? That's terrifying. Congress takes this break during summer despite, 28 million Americans being out of work and on the unemployment line. No stimulus yet for America, for the Commonwealth, or for Charlottesville, Virginia. Virginia Commonwealth University has started school in Richmond, Virginia. There are 4,000 students on grounds. That story coming up. We have the contract that the University of Virginia will require its students to sign before arriving in Charlottesville. That contract and details on the I Love CVille Show. The actor, Ryan Reynolds, Van Wilder. I love the movie Van Wilder. Just a rite of passage, coming of age. Guy goes to college, spends way too much time, way too many years there, loves to party, loves to, learn about things he's interested in, not what the school's ready to shove down his throat. Van Wilder, Ryan Reynolds, sells a gin company today, his gin company, a gin company he owns for $610 million. That story coming up on the I Love CVille Show. And we'll give you an update on the University of Virginia and the NBA. There are 5 Wahoos that are currently playing in the National Basketball Association postseason. Yes, 5 members or former members of the UVA men's basketball team now playing in the NBA playoffs. Unfortunately, Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome did not make the postseason. And I'm going to ask an important question. Who's going to be the season opening opponent for the University of Virginia football team? Here's a scary thought. We are less than 1 month away from the start of college football in Charlottesville. Less than 1 month. And still, we do not have an opponent for Bronco Mendenhall and the University of Virginia football team. It was VMI, but remember, we let you know last week that VMI has canceled or postponed its football season to the spring. So here's another scary thought. Not only does UVA football not have an opening opponent for the season opener, but Virginia Tech does, and Virginia Tech's playing NC State. Remember, Wahoo fans, and I bleed orange and blue, UVA football has Virginia Tech in week 2. So as a fan of the orange and blue, I would much rather have an opponent of some capacity in week 1 before playing the Hokies in week 2 in the Commonwealth Clash. Virginia Tech will play, as of now, its opener against the Wolfpack. So they get that tune-up game before playing the rivalry game against us. Give the show a like and a share on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Thank you for joining us this beautiful Monday afternoon. Let's give a little bit of spotlight, Judah Wickower, who's our director, to Interstate Pest and Service Companies, a fabulous 4-generation strong business, Interstate Pest and Service Companies, a home's best friend, 4 generations of family, local, running this business and doing it the right way, guys. Also, you can save $288 through Ting Fiber Internet. We've done it. Fiber Internet is awesome. It's awesome. We have the most affordable price for Ting Fiber Internet through this link, ilovecville.ting.com, ilovecville.ting.com. That gives you $288 in savings, a free first month, and free installation. Judah, we got a lot to do. Keith Smith is going to join us in about 1:10, the distinguished gentleman. We got a lot to cover on today's show. Judah's a fabulous director. You ready to rock and roll? Yeah, let's do it. I think we have to start with a macro headline, one that can change the game. Let's get it on screen. Boys and girls, in conjunction with Yale University, the NBA, and the NBA Players Association, we now have some glimmer of hope. And we had glimmers of hope last week with vaccines on the horizon. No, I'm not talking Russia. Yes, I'm talking Moderna and some of the other companies that were making progress. Well, guys, now a test with legitimate turnaround. 3 hours. The Food and Drug Administration has cleared the way for a cheaper, quicker, saliva-based COVID-19 test. They're projecting the test will cost $10. Very affordable. They're projecting the turnaround time for the results 3 hours or less. Boys and girls, this is a big headline. Okay, and I want to dissect the headline here, but before I'm gonna get the details out again. So 3 entities: the NBA, the league itself. The second entity was the Players Association, the union or the group behind the players in the NBA, and the third entity was Yale University. All 3 in conjunction have developed a test that's going to be projected $10 in cost and have a results turnaround of 3 hours or less. Now, let's ask ourselves, what can this do for mankind? What can this do for health in the world, in America, in the Commonwealth, in Charlottesville, in Albemarle County, in Fluvanna, or Louisa, Orange, and Green? Okay? And I'm going to try to get some of those answers to you. First off, the results or the turnaround time of 3 hours or less is huge. We characterized what Judah went through when he took the test himself, our director, on a request from his parents, and he waited 8 days for results. 8 days for results. And when you wait 8 days for testing results, when it comes to something like COVID, you have to question the integrity of the testing system because the result turnaround time is too long. But 3 hours, you can travel. You can get to the airport 3 hours beforehand, 4 or 5 hours beforehand, and you can take a test and you can get your results. 3 hours, you potentially can do the theme park type of situation. Do you understand? Get there early in the morning, 7 a.m. test, 10 a.m. entry. This has impacts for food and beverage, for restaurants, for weddings. Weddings, boys and girls. Before you go to the venue, you take this test. 3 hours, $10. You have 200 guests, you give them $10 a pop. Okay? It's going to be a little pricey, but this is how you can have the weddings of the capacity. You go to the Board of Supervisors, county, City of Charlottesville, council. You go to the Commonwealth, Virginia. You go to the delegates in Richmond, and you say, how do we get these tests down and trickled to everybody? Okay, this is positive news, and there's no surprise that the markets are responding. Look at what's happening on Wall Street. The markets are responding on this positive news. We'll follow this story this week on the I Love CVille Show, but as someone who's a cautious optimist, someone who's reading tea leaves, 3 hours, I would like to get that 3 hours down even lower, but that's a hell of a good place to start. It certainly beats 8 days. And the second thing, the $10 per test, I mean, this group, the Yale University MBA and the Players Association from the NBA, they straight up said, we are not going to commoditize or commercialize this. We are not going to turn this into, we got leverage, let's make some bank and say it's $100 a pop or $1.50 a pop. Some people would do that. They're saying, let's do it 10 Bs, 10 bones. This is positive. Positive. What's not positive is our next headline, and I won't spend too much time on this, but it's important to get this information to you. I know a lot of you rely on the show as your daily news intake, and I appreciate that. Congress has taken a recess. They've adjourned for summer. Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, they're sipping umbrella drinks poolside in two-piece bikinis. That is a terrifying thought. A terrifying thought. Nancy Pelosi in a bikini, Mitch McConnell in a Speedo, good Lord. why you should care that Congress is taking recess or taking a break is because we have 28 million Americans. 28 million Americans on the unemployment line. Guys, there's 328 million Americans in totality. The country has 328 million people in it. 28 million or 8.6%, 8.5 or 8.6% of America is on the unemployment line. Seriously, dudes. And Congress is taking a break for the summer for umbrella top cocktails and two-piece bikinis with SPF 10 in the Hamptons? I mean, get back to work. Get back to work. Stimulus for the people out of work. I mean, 8.5% unemployment is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And SMBs, small and medium-sized businesses, clinging for their lives from coast to coast. That's not the America we know. That's not the land of the free. Okay? Get back to work. Bridge the aisle and issue a stimulus package. The last one we know, but issue it. Next headline. This one from a Commonwealth level. Get it on screen, J-Dubs. Virginia, yes, our Commonwealth. The Commonwealth we live in. No, it's not a state. Yes, it is a Commonwealth. The Commonwealth of Virginia will receive, as of this point, $2.7 billion less in revenues due to COVID-19. You heard me correctly. $2.7 billion with a B. Virginia will receive less in revenues due to COVID. Okay? Governor has said he's not going to lay people off or he's not going to cut essential programming as of now. What he is cutting is Virginia's transportation program. Virginia's transportation program is in shambles. Who in their right mind right now, and I'm not marginalizing, and I'm saying if you're doing it, respect. But in an ideal situation, if you had your druthers and it was an ideal situation, would you choose to ride a bus right now? I'm asking a frank and real conversation. COVID-19, you get in a tin can with strangers and not the best ventilation. And I understand that folks still have to do it and respect that you do what you got to do to survive. One of my acronyms for life is DWYGD. Do what you gotta do. DWYGD. And if you're doing what you got to do on a bus to get to work or wherever you need to be, props. But from an ideal situation, would anyone choose or if they had their pick riding a bus over something else to get somewhere? The public transportation system everywhere is in shambles. Think about the subway in New York City. Everything that New York City is predicated on, dense population. Tons of people in office buildings. Lots of people riding in elevators. Taxis, Ubers, subways, and public transportation. Shoulder to shoulder walking on the sidewalk. Crowded and busy. Everything it's predicated on is literally in precarious position right now because of COVID. So is public transportation across the Commonwealth. And unfortunately, before we get off this headline, there is a shortfall, and the governor is going to, unfortunately, deprioritize the expansion of early childhood education in Virginia. So that does get a little cut right there, which is unfortunate. The next headline I want to get to, Judah Wickhauer, is VCU. Virginia Commonwealth University has started. There's 4,000 students in Richmond right now. Give me the thumbs up when that's, thank you, Judah. 4,000 students in Richmond at VCU. VCU's has throttled students in Richmond. 4,000 students live on campus. The on-campus housing is set for 6,200, so they've even limited how many are on campus. Most of the kids are going to be learning virtually. They have started school in Richmond at VCU. We'll follow what happens at VCU and as schools across the Commonwealth now get open for business. 4,000 kids is not a ton of kids. Not a ton of students. On that note, Judah, we have the UVA COVID contract. Charlottesville tomorrow, CVille tomorrow, Giles, who's the editor over there, Charlotte, Elliot's the editor, Giles is the publisher. Giles and Elliot and Charlotte do a heck of a job at CVille tomorrow. Well, they have the contract. Can we get the contract on screen? So here's pretty much, in Charlottesville tomorrow, good work. Jesse Higgins behind this story. Before arriving on grounds, students at the University of Virginia will sign a 2-page contract agreeing to follow UVA's public health measures, all COVID-related laws. Interestingly, the contract gives the university the right to discipline students caught breaking COVID-related rules, even if they're not on grounds. So if you got 50 students getting after it at the Fitzroy, or you have 50 students, doing keg stands at X Art Park, or if you have 50 students, they have a hankering from a taco for La Michoacana on High Street, okay, and they're not obeying COVID rules with social distancing and mask wearing, UVA legitimately, with this contract that they're making them sign, can enforce behavior for students, not just on grounds, but in Charlottesville or Albemarle County as well. I mean, I'm torn on this. I'm torn on this because I'm a libertarian in mindset. I'm also torn on this because I know 18 to 22-year-olds want to get after it and party, and they're social butterflies, and they just got some newfound freedom, and they want to utilize that newfound freedom as we all did, as we all would. And I'm also torn on this because I'm a member of Charlottesville, a member of Albemarle County, live in Albemarle County, work in the city of Charlottesville, went to UVA, so I see it from both sides. I like the fact that the University of Virginia, in the grand scheme of things, is trying to be a good neighbor. There has been many instances where the University of Virginia has not been a great neighbor for the city of Charlottesville and or Albemarle County. In this particular circumstance, by being a little big brother, and you can make the argument that it is a little big brother, a little iron-fisted, a little, many of the elements a libertarian-minded individual does not like. Regardless, I respect the fact that UVA is being a concerned citizen, and you have to give props to the most influential, powerful brand in our community when they do something good. And that's the University of Virginia. So they legitimately, can you bring students up on honor code violations? According to this 2-page contract, students will sign or have to sign if they're not obeying 6 feet of physical distancing and wearing masks in the community and being mindful of COVID. There you go. For those concerned about students returning to the city of Charlottesville, and our Mayor Nakia Walker straight up said they should not come back. I will not ever say that ever. But for those being concerned about the students returning to Charlottesville, please remember that they're doing a 2-page contract where they can be brought up on honor charges if they're not being mindful of COVID. And I'm quite confident that UVA is going to police this. Is going to check this out. Time will tell. Time will tell. The next headline is an intriguing one. Van Wilder, loved Van Wilder, the movie. Ryan Reynolds, hell of an actor. Really has gone from kind of like a jokester type of guy, a prankster type of role, type of character, to kind of like a leading man type of guy that can carry a movie. Well, this guy is also an entrepreneur, and give me the thumbs up when that's on screen. Ryan Reynolds, $610 million he gets today for his gin company. You heard me correctly. Van Wilder, the actor, Ryan Reynolds, his gin company, Aviation American Gin, he sold it to Diageo today for $610 million. Get this. Of that $610 million, Ryan Reynolds gets $335 million up front. $335 up front, the rest deferred. The deal falls just short of the deal Diageo made with George Clooney And George Clooney's tequila company, Casamigos. That is a really good tequila, Casamigos. Clooney and Casamigos got $700 million. Reynolds got $610. So Clooney got $90 million more. But Clooney got less up front. Clooney got $300 up front to Reynolds $335. So Reynolds gets roughly 10% more up front. Dude, so Van Wilder, the guy who had the bulldog, did you ever see that movie? The guy who had the bulldog with the humongous cojones, and the guy who was I think that's how he got his start, right? And now a leading man in Hollywood just made $610 million, including $335 million today. Getting a check for $335 million? I mean, imagine getting a check for $335 million. Think about that. I mean, for a gin company that he started, was running through his marketing company, and has not owned for that long. Props, kudos. Whenever somebody, this is my mindset. Whenever somebody does well, or somebody is having success, or somebody is doing well in love, doing well in business, someone is doing well in sports, okay, doing well in some capacity, my mindset is celebrate and champion and give them more confidence and the juice to keep the positive momentum going. Surround yourself with positive Peters and positive Patties that celebrate your success, as opposed to bringing or trying to create a chink in the armor of the success or bring you down. Surround yourself with folks that do not feel threatened or jealous or envy of your success, and instead thrive off your success and utilize that to find success in their own respective ecosystem. Just a little life tip. When you do that, when you get away from the folks that are jealous, envious, or don't champion you, things will boom even more for you. And Ryan Reynolds selling a gin company that he hasn't run and owned for that long for $610 million and getting $335 million up front. Dude, good job. Props and kudos to you. We'll get to Keith Smith in about 10 minutes on the program. 10 minutes for Keith Smith. We'll get to your comments here in about 30 to 45 seconds. Save $288 on Ting Fiber Internet. Judah, did you get that on screen for us? Phenomenal deal. First month free. You heard me correctly. Ting Fiber Internet. It is so fast. You do not have, you're saving like time on everything you do from page to page. You get free month and free installation through ilovecville.ting.com. And let's give love to Scotty Wagner. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, a guy who is changing people's lives through chiropractic care, physical therapy, and home and sports medicine. Scott Wagner, Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Judah, the Charlottesville Empty Storefront Index. We have not done this in a while. CBS 19 did a story over the weekend. CBS 19 has picked their game up. Since the sale of the station, have you noticed NBC 29 and CBS 19, the two TV stations, essentially traded owners. They traded owners. See what I'm saying? They essentially just traded owners. And CBS 19's picked the game up a little bit. I want to give them some props. They did a story over the weekend about for lease signs everywhere on the downtown mall. And are you running those on screen? You are. Look at the screen. These are a few that we've taken. Unfortunately, on Thursday afternoon, late last week, Boutique was the latest to announce its closing. Boutique was also had the shoe store next door. So it was kind of two businesses right next to each other. They've announced their closing. Now, our headquarters building I own most of is on Market Street. It's the Macklin building. It's half a block from the downtown mall. So it's at the corner of Market and the grocery store in 4th. Okay, so I'm on the mall every day, whether to the post office, to the bank, to the CPA, to the lawyer, getting a cup of coffee, getting some lunch, just taking a break and walking up and down the mall. And I've been in Charlottesville 20 years. I arrived in Charlottesville as the first year. I have never seen the mall not only this empty in foot traffic, but this empty from a storefront standpoint. Now, couple of things that could turn and create some positivity for the mall. We have Geoffrey Woodruff and Code, the Center of Developing Entrepreneurs, making ridiculous progress. If you have not been downtown, the Ice Park is demolished and gone, and Geoffrey Woodruff, the hedge fund titan of QIM fame, has demolished the Ice Park, and he's now, boys and girls, building the Center of Developing Entrepreneurs, basically a place to house his portfolio of businesses and brands. So this structure is going to have a ton of people, and it's going to create buzz, energy, and foot traffic downtown. And if you haven't seen it recently, it's really making progress. If you haven't been to ACAC recently, and I understand why you haven't, I'm still going to ACAC. There is significant progress being made with its big parking lot. Apex Clean Energy, Riverbend Development, William McDonough Partners, and a couple of other businesses are building an 8-story office building in the parking lot next to ACAC as we speak. So from a positive standpoint, the development of the ACAC parking lot, which is going to be an 8-story office building, we're talking 187,000 square feet. You heard me correctly. 187,000 square feet and 8 stories in the parking lot next to ACAC. That's happening now. Geoffrey Woodruff and Code tore down the Ice Park and are building an even, a massive, I can't give you the exact square foot. I could if I looked it up. I probably can look it up here. A massive facility. It's going to have a bar inside. It's going to have retail on the bottom floor. It's going to house his portfolio of brands. It's going to have accountants and lawyers built in. It's 500 and freaking, good Lord. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Code. I got it right here. Code is going to be, I'll find it for you. I'll tell you what the square feet. But we have a lot of new construction going on, is what I'm going at. What I'm going at is we have a ton of new construction going around the mall. This is what we have to ask ourselves, though. This is what we have to ask ourselves. When we return on the other side of COVID, will we return to the same clip or frequency or volume of working in downtown office settings? I think people will feel a lot more confident doing this, if they had a test that could be a quick turnaround and we're working there, and of course a vaccine. So I'm still, while I'm obviously not as bullish about the mall and downtown as I was in February as I am now. In February, I was way more bullish. I'm still not necessarily bearish either. And I'm walking from the post office to the Omni, and I see the empty storefronts and the for lease signs everywhere. I really do. But I also see consumer confidence flickering in a different direction for the first time in a little while. And let me back that up by metrics. Last week, the first time since the pandemic in America, the people that claimed unemployment were under 1 million. It was the first time since COVID outbreak that we had a jobless claims report of under 1 million people, okay? That was a positive. Positive today, Monday, and over the weekend is this quick turnaround test. A quick turnaround test that could open up the wedding an event sector and help it recover, a quick turnaround test that could help food and beverage recover, certainly travel and airline and cruises and theme parks recover. I mean, you're seeing glimmers. So am I as bullish as I was in February now for downtown Charlottesville and a lot of these empty storefronts? No, I'm not. But I still think a sector or a niche of real estate, a little micro market within Charlottesville, downtown, I still think its long-term potential is strong. You got a hedge fund titan, and what is he runs a $3 billion hedge fund. I mean, what's his net worth? Oh, I have no idea. We could say hundreds of millions of dollars. He gave $125 million to UVA to build a data science center and $10 million plus to Boar's Head to build a squash facility. So this guy's got ducats. This dude is investing his own dinero to build a building to house his businesses and to create commerce downtown. We got an 8-story building being built as we speak next to ACAC. We have Oliver Kootner building a building right off of Water Street. What is that building? Is that the 323 right next to Water Street? Okay? We got the Dairy Market with Chris Henry and Dairy Central. What? 3/4 of a mile from downtown on Preston Avenue? I mean, you have new construction booming everywhere. And as Chris Engel, Charlottesville's economic development director, said earlier this year, there's 500 square feet of premium commercial office space coming to the city of Charlottesville in the next 2 years. That right there is going to help drive the economy. Will it be occupied at the same clip the developers envisioned before COVID? Who knows? You're going to need a vaccine for that. But 500,000 square feet of commercial office space in the next 2 years. And we're 17 months into that 2-year statement. Chris made that in January of this year. I'm still strong. I'm still bullish. I'm knocking on wood, and I'm saying my prayers as a good Southern Baptist, but I think we're turning. I think we're turning this a little bit here. I'm curious of what Keith Smith says. Keith, we'll go to you in about 4 minutes, maybe a little bit less here on the I Love CVille Show. I'm looking forward to catching up with my buddy. He's the star of Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate life in the pursuit of happiness. I'm curious. We'll talk after Keith Smith about 5 Virginia men's basketball players currently playing in the NBA playoffs. Unfortunately, Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome did not make the postseason. We'll talk about who the opener is going to be for UVA football. We're less than a month away from the start of the season, and Bronco Mendenhall and UVA do not know who their opponent is. Even worse, we play Virginia Tech in week 2, and the Hokies have a week 1 matchup against NC State. So they get a tune-up, and right now we don't have a tune-up before the Commonwealth clash. That stinks. And how about Liberty University? Its head football coach misunderstood optics so much, managed perception and PR so poorly, the football coach at Liberty U. This guy literally said to the Lynchburg News in Advance at the end of last week, "We have not tested our football players in 2 weeks." He said, "We haven't had any COVID tests. We haven't had any COVID cases." Well, we haven't tested our guys in 2 weeks either. What the heck? And here's the crazy thing. Liberty University is playing 3 ACC teams this year. And its head football coach is telling the Lynchburg News in Advance, "We haven't tested our football players in 2 weeks." Syracuse's athletic director is like, "What are you talking about? That is not acceptable." They also play, Liberty University does, Virginia Tech and NC State. So we'll have that story for you after the Keith Smith interview. Judah, let them know how they can get 288 savings on Ting as I reach out to Keith Smith. ilovecville.ting.com to save $288 on the best internet in Charlottesville. Judah, I have the distinguished gentleman on the line. He's looking mighty distinguished. Good afternoon, Keith Smith. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Jerry. Like I always said, if I was doing any better, it'd be illegal. I'll tell you one thing. I had a really hard time trying to keep up with the notes. You were on fire today, so.
Can I throw something good to you?
Sure, of course.
Okay, so we're gonna.
First of all, it's great to see you, brother.
Oh, it's great to see you too. It's great to see. Hey, and I'll give you some props on this. I've been meaning to tell you this. The lighting in this situation that you have is fantastic. This is a really good Zoom situation for you.
Well, we took a little advice from folks like yourself and created a little Zoom room at the house. So we're doing great.
It looks good. So I'm gonna give you and Yoda some props, and then maybe you use this as a segue to talk about the market. You guys had a listing in the city of Charlottesville. And guys, this is what the Yes Team Realtors can do for you. Okay, you had a listing in the city of Charlottesville. Give us a snapshot of what happened with that listing.
I mean, the snapshot is pretty simple. We put it on Friday, had it sold Saturday. It's under contract. Yeah. So actually, just to talk about the market a little bit, the city is on fire still. I mean, we talk about this constantly on the show about some of the outside areas, but I just took a quick look at the numbers. Just the city of Charlottesville, 3 homes went under contract. 3 homes went under contract this weekend, just Saturday and Sunday. So that's a pretty quick turnaround on it. But yeah, it's the as we call it, the 5 rights: right location, which it was in Greenbrier; right price, the client priced it right features, the house was in great condition, and the timing is perfect. It's a seller's market at this point, and all these other things, and it fired off on 12 cylinders, and it went pretty quickly. I think we had like 9 or 10 offers on the home. So. Okay,
that's what I want to ask you about. How does that work? So you guys, this shows you the real estate market in Charlottesville. That's why we're talking about this. It also speaks to the talents of Keith and Jonas Smith and the Yes Team Realtors. So you put a house on the market on Friday. You get 9. How does 9 offers work on a house and go under contract in 24 hours?
Yeah, so what we typically do is we just call for highest and best offers by a certain time, and we pick our client picks one, and then we go. That's how we do it. Everybody has a little different paths to do it, but we prefer to give everybody an equal shot and say by such and such a time you need to give us our highest and best offer. So that's kind of how that came together. So can't talk too much details, obviously, because it's under contract. It hasn't closed yet, but. So people are thinking, if they're thinking the downtown Charlottesville market is not the usual, I can't even say your famous word, Infuego?
Infuego,
right? I'll get that word one. It only took me 2 years, maybe another 2 years, I'll get that word down right. But yeah, man, so it's if you're ready to put your house on the market and it's in the right location, right price, right features, right condition, now's the time to do this. Couldn't pick a better time.
So how about some stats on the market? You said you got some stats for us?
Yeah, no. I just did a quick over the weekend. We've got basically there's 3 homes in the city sold. That was the only stat I had for today. But we do have an exciting week coming up on the show, and Friday tomorrow. I've been trying to get Mark Lorenzoni to come in, and Mark is going to come and see us from Ragged Mountain Running Shop. He's a dear friend, a local hero, and we're going to talk a little bit about his business and his time here in the city of Charlottesville and surrounding areas, and how COVID has kind of affected him and how he's moving forward. So you're going to have to put a seatbelt on, because he and I like to talk. So, just giving you a heads up. He's from Jersey, I'm from New York, so it's going to go crazy. And then on Friday, we got a really big deal coming in. As you know, on last Friday, I started pushing this regional housing, the residential infill project that Portland has done, and trying to push this here. I've got one of the key folks from Portland calling a gentleman by the name of Robert Liberty that was part of this whole process to really talk about it. Hopefully we can get some city councils to listen. And so I'm excited. We got a busy week, you and I.
How do you feel it's looking out there? We know the real estate market has stayed strong altogether, and we've talked about the value of consumer confidence. And consumer confidence doesn't just affect real estate, it's affecting new construction, it's affecting retail, it's affecting restaurants, as you know. We got a vaccine that we're talking about, a test we're talking about, Keith. And this test,
I want to go back to that when you're done.
Yeah, this test may give us results in 3 hours, which is amazing. A $10 price point, which is amazing. I learn from you. I count on your perspective. Do you think we're turning? I feel like we're turning a little bit here. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, but you and I are positive guys. We felt that from the very beginning, right? But to put a little historical perspective to this, I came to Charlottesville area in '87. And what you're seeing now on the downtown mall was 87, 88, 89, 90. 50% of it was empty. You know, as a matter of fact, back then you couldn't get anything to eat on a Sunday down there. It was all the restaurants were shut down. But this is not the late 80s, right? This is very different. And all these projects that you've been mentioning, right? You know, the core building, you know, Co-Construct is moving, and we had him on our show, is moving in there. You know, what Chris Henry's doing on Preston is unbelievable. So what ultimately is happening here is these momentums are going to move forward, but all the core structures of the economy are not the same as it was back in those days, right? It wasn't the same as in 2008. So you know, God forbid we have a recession, a part two to this. God only knows what that's going to do to us. But I think we're doing good on coming out of it. And, you know, I as you know, on my show, we stay away from politics. But frankly, it's bullshit that they're going home. So, you know, you and I are working, trying to get stuff done. There's people that are out of jobs. There's people that are trying to make a living, right? And these guys are taking off. Something ain't right about that.
I agree.
So,
He's talking about Congress taking a recess for the summer. I agree.
Sorry about the language.
No, totally fine. 28 million Americans out of work. You said you wanted to talk about the test, Keith.
Yeah, so I wanted to put a little personal perspective to it. You know, you and I do that a lot. So those who do not know my wife, Yona Smith, she's Austrian. Well, she's an American, but she holds an Austrian citizenship also. We have, you know, she's executive to my in-laws' estate, and we have some really important personal family business we need to do in Austria, and we can't get there. She can't get there, and she can't get there because they're requiring this 48-hour test, right? It can't be any older than 48 hours. But unfortunately, Austrian Airlines, or the airline company, since they're not filling up planes, are constantly changing the flight day that she's trying to go out. So she basically can't go, right? And this is a very important family matter. It's a legal thing. There's taxes. There's this whole legal thing that she needs to do in Austria, which we can't get to. If this 3-hour turnaround was, man, we'd be in good shape. She'd be able to do that. So we're struggling, trying to figure out how she can meet her obligations there without being there. And we just don't know how we're going to do that. But anyway, so there's real world applications to this. So thank you for sharing. That kind of got us excited.
For me, I mean, and you're a businessman. For you got experience. You're a businessman. You've been through some recessions before. For me, I mean, Keith, you get this quick turnaround test, and that bridges the gap to the vaccine.
It does. Well, I'm not smart enough to know that, right? But I'm smart enough to know that if you can do a 3-hour test, as you said in your opening piece there, it opens up everything, right? We have a wedding in our future, right, with our youngest daughter, right? Even though, you know, so we can now do that because we can make sure everybody just cost us whatever, $10 times 150, whatever that math works out to. It just costs us a little bit more money. I don't want to be flippant about it, but it's not $150, right?
Yeah.
We can manage that. Maybe pay a little less on something to make up the difference. You're 100% right. You know, a 3-hour testing would make a huge difference. It would. You know what it also would do if they can do it? So our oldest daughter is in Connecticut. She's pregnant with our second grandchild. I can't go up and see them.
Yeah.
So they don't allow folks in from Virginia to go to Connecticut or to New York or New Jersey. We can't do that. So if I can do a 3-hour test and say, hey, look, I'm good, then we're good, right? So anyway, it's very complicated. It'd be a great thing, but it's way above my pay grade and understanding. I just know if we can do it, it'd be a great
It
thing.
would be awesome. Keith Smith, the distinguished gentleman, Real Talk tomorrow. You got Lorenzoni, man. That's awesome.
Man, I am, dude, I am so pumped about this. You don't know Robert Liberty, the guy coming from Portland, but when you do, it's going to be a lot of fun. He's a fun guy. But I am so excited about Mark. I do need to go see him this afternoon because he's kind of freaking out about this whole technology thing. So I'm going to go over there, and somehow I know that's probably going to cost me some money because I'm going to buy some new shoes and a bunch of running gear. So I think he did that on purpose.
I think he did too. But they check your gait before you buy your shoes to make sure you're in the right kicks.
Man.
It's amazing.
My 80-year-old mother goes there and buys her walking shoes, right? She buys her walking shoes. They go through this whole thing. When you open up the book and look for service, right? How do you service a client? How do you take care of a client? Their picture is there. So I'm super excited about it. We'll end up telling some running lies, I'm sure, he and I. But I'm looking forward to it. He's just a lot of fun. And actually, I'm trying to get him to wear a mask and come into the office, into the studio. But I'm not so sure I'm going to be so successful with that.
I'm looking forward to it. You got a great show tomorrow at 10:15. Thank you for joining us, Keith.
My pleasure. Good luck with the rest of the show, my friend.
All right. It's good to see you. Love seeing Keith.
Same here, bro.
Great guy. See you later. So Mark Lorenzoni on his show tomorrow. I'm going to ask this question. What brand in Charlottesville is more iconic than Ragged Mountain Running Shop? Ragged Mountain Running Shop is like as iconic as a brand as you're going to find in Charlottesville, Virginia. Can you think of one that is more iconic? The oldest restaurant in the city of Charlottesville is the Virginian. That's 1923. The oldest restaurant in the city of Charlottesville is the Virginian. That brand has more longevity and tenure, the Virginian. Bodo's an iconic brand. I don't think Bodo's has I'd say Bodo's, Ragged Mountain, the Virginian, they're all up there in a category of the most iconic in the city of Charlottesville. What else do you put up there? You put Riverside up there? Not sure if Riverside gets up there. Riverside's great. You put Riverside up there? Ragged, one of the most iconics. And what I love about the business is he's right about the customer service. Keith Smith, he's exactly right. But you're seeing the transition from Mark and Cynthia to their kids. And you see this passing of the torch, and you're seeing like the next generation like step up and take this torch and just like take it to another level. I mean, I love how Ragged Mountain responded to COVID-19. I love how Ragged Mountain is on social media. I really love how the second generation is taking the brand and making it 2020. The customer service, Bodo, what do Bodo's and Ragged Mountain Running Shop have in common? You get to a line, and you live in Charlottesville, you're from the area, and it's Sunday after church, and it's 12:30, and you see the line in non-COVID times wrapped outside the door past the newspaper boxes on Preston Avenue. People standing outside. Or in COVID times, you see that drive-through, that makeshift drive-through wrapped around onto Preston Avenue on the road. By the gas station, the Tiger Fuel, and down Preston, it's that busy. As a Charlottesvillian, you know Bodo's is going to turn and move that line quickly because of their customer service. Ragged Mountain has the same quality. Animal Connection, Patty Zeller, has that same quality. I mean, you see like the common denominators for these brands that have had success, and it's like the customer service is beyond, is above and beyond. I mean, Patty, when she saw that Chewy and Amazon were on 3 to 7 day turnarounds for dog food, she literally was getting on a bicycle or her car and delivering food within an hour or two to her customers, beating Amazon and Chewy to the punch. That is ridiculous. And that is why these businesses have been successful. Ragged Mountain Running Shop was doing this. They were delivering shoes to your house and leaving them outside for you. That is ridiculous. People are running and outside and more active than ever because they're tired of being pent up at home in quarantine, and shoes are flying. And they're taking them to them, Ragged to the customer. That is customer service above and beyond and why they've been successful. A couple more headlines I want to get to before we call it a day. Interesting headline in another metric to measure the economy. CNBC, due to the headline from home builders. Home builder sentiment jumps to record high. Good gosh, guys. Another positive headline. Guys, it jumped 6 points to 78 in August on the National Association of Home Builders Wells Fargo Housing Market Index. Anything above 50 is considered positive. Now we're at 78. Okay? We do have rising lumber prices that could slow some momentum, but confidence to build single-family detached homes jumped 6 points to 78 in August. So people, of course they are. They're sprinting from the densely populated urban cores and building single-family detached, a house that they can work, live, and play. It's no longer a house. It's now a castle. And the castle better have a gym, a Zoom room for the missus and the mister, a place for the kids to be quiet and learn virtually while mom and dad are working, in a backyard to play in because you're going to be at the house a lot because of this pandemic. So home builder sentiment sky high, a record high, another positive metric that hopefully, knock on IKEA, indicates a turn. We've outlined a lot of bullet points today on the program to substantiate and to base and be the foundation of a economy making a turn. We really have. The only market negative, there was so much market positive news today. Market positive news, a test that gives results in less than 3 hours. Market positive news. The test is going to cost $10. Market positive news. Jobless claims. Last week, under 1 million. First time in COVID history. Market positive news. Home builder sentiment up 6 points to a record high, 78. The only market negative news, market positive news in Charlottesville, all this freaking new construction that's happening everywhere. Over 500,000 square feet of commercial construction happening right now in the city of Charlottesville. Market positive. The only market negative news we covered on this program was Congress taking the summer off to sip Mai Tais and for Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell to lounge poolside to work on their tans and two-piece bikinis and Speedos while 28 million Americans are out of work and on the soup kitchen line. That's the only market negative news we've covered so far. A lot of positive news. And more market positive news, at least from a Charlottesville standpoint. How about the headline from UVA basketball? There's 5 former UVA men's basketball players currently playing in the NBA playoffs. Malcolm Brogdon for the Indiana Pacers. Look at the screen, guys. Joe Harris for the Brooklyn Nets. Justin Anderson for the Brooklyn Nets. Mike Scott for the Philadelphia 76ers. And Devin Hall for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Unfortunately, Ty Jerome of the the Sacramento Kings, or Kyle Guy of the Sacramento Kings. Kyle Guy did not make the playoffs, and Ty Jerome of the Phoenix Suns did not make the playoffs. Regardless, we have 5 in the playoffs right now in the postseason with Malcolm Brogdon, with Joe Harris, with Justin Anderson, Mike Scott, and Devin Hall. That is amazing. That is amazing. There was a time when men's basketball with UVA, if we had one guy playing in the league, that was a big deal and we celebrated him. If we had one as a Wahoo basketball team. Now we have 7. That is bona fide and a testament to probably my favorite coach at UVA. I love Brian O'Connor as well, the baseball coach, Brian O'Connor. But probably my favorite coach is Tony Bennett. He's got 7 dudes in the NBA, 5 dudes in the postseason right now. Props. And Anthony Gill's playing overseas. London Parantes is playing in the G League. Jack Salt's playing in his native Australia. So we got other people playing basketball as well. Sullivan Landesberg, that's not a Tony Bennett product, but he's playing overseas as well. So 5 guys in the playoffs for Tony Bennett's team. That's amazing. And how about this question very quickly before we wrap up? 2 more topics here. Before I get to Liberty University and Liberty University just not understanding optics and Liberty University not understanding testing, I'm going to put that to the side right now. Who is UVA's season opening opponent going to be? We are less than a month away from the start of the season. You heard me correctly. Less than a month away from the start of the season. And UVA does not have an opponent yet. The Virginia Tech Hokies are scheduled to open with NC State on September 12th. The Wahoos, UVA, do not have an opening opponent. So as of right now, UVA goes into week 2 against Virginia Tech, and that will be the first game of the season for Broncos team. So here's some suggestions from the Sabre. Chris Wright does a good job from the Sabre about some suggestions. Marshall, Liberty, Coastal Carolina, Charlotte, ECU, Navy are some options right there. Liberty's already playing 3 ACC teams, and that's a perfect segue into the next headline. Liberty's football coach told the Lynchburg News in advance. You heard me correctly. Liberty's football coach told the Lynchburg News in advance that we have not tested our players for 2 weeks. He said, we haven't had any positive tests. We haven't had any cases. Well, we haven't tested players for 2 weeks either. What? Why would you tell a newspaper that, Hugh Freeze? Why would you tell a newspaper that, Hugh Freeze? So now Liberty, who has 3 football teams from the ACC on its schedule, it has Syracuse, NC State, and Virginia Tech. Those 3 schools are freaking out about playing Liberty and putting its players in jeopardy and opening up the schools to lawsuits. Liberty was scuttlebutted around as the opening opponent for UVA because we're in the bottom of the 9th inning and we needed an opponent. Liberty was the scuttlebutt. So at that point, if Liberty does jump on UVA's schedule, and that has not been decided, Liberty will play 4 teams in the ACC this year. They're already scheduled to play Virginia Tech, NC State, and Syracuse. Will they open with UVA? Time will tell. Hugh Freeze and Liberty are making bank for playing these ACC games. I mean, I'm talking freaking bank, guys. They're getting $1.1 million alone to play NC State. $1.1 million alone to play NC State. Man, a lot of crazy stuff happening at Liberty University. Jerry Farwell is on Instagram Live, the president of the school, with his pants unbuttoned and his underwear out next to a pregnant lady who also has her pants unbuttoned and her underwear out. He resigns because of this. They don't test their football players currently. They're not requiring tests for students to return back to school. A lot of ballsiness going on over there in Liberty. All right, let's get to the comments. Give the show a like and a share, guys. If you like today's show, hit the like button. If you like today's show, hit the like button. Scott, our Esquire friend in Virginia Beach, I did see that. I did see the Bluegrass Grill and Devil's Backbone doing a little pop-up. So Bluegrass Grill may be being reincarnated. They did a pop-up at Devil's Backbone. Scott, the fabulous lawyer from Virginia Beach, put that on my radar. So maybe Bluegrass Grill comes back to life? I mean, Chrissy, the owner, is a rock star. She's come on the show. James Watson says this: UVA should play Nebraska for the first game. Big national spotlight opportunity for both. I think UVA is going to probably be playing an in-state school. We'll see. And a school within the Commonwealth. I would not be surprised if UVA plays Liberty. That would be crazy. James also says, I'm glad we have lots of jobs coming here, but it is interesting to see how it will play out since 90% of those jobs can probably be done from people's home offices. That is a concern. Will people, when they're able to return from work, Let me ask you this question. When we are finally able to return to work and have the consumer confidence to go into the office and work, will we actually do it? For the last, 7 months, 6 months, we've been working from home. We now have the skill set and infrastructure to work from home and do our jobs, and we've become quite proficient at it. Let me put it in perspective here. So when COVID first hit, this show and this network were a shadow of what they currently are now. When COVID first hit, we were doing interviews on the I Love CVille Show with folks of influence, difference makers, agents of change, agents of positive change here at I Love CVille. And I would spend an hour just talking with them and doing the flip book of their life. Well, COVID made that format of spending an hour sitting next to someone as close as this microphone to me, with me looking at them like this, through this camera over here, Judah. COVID made interviews like this with you and with individuals coming into our studio no longer acceptable or safe or the social norm. So the I Love CVille network and our team, we had to evolve quickly. And how we evolved quickly was leveraging Skype and other software that allowed us to welcome guests into the program from anywhere in the world, including their home office. What we have found, and we have had this conversation today with Kelly Jackson and Jamie Schwartz, Judah Wickower, and myself, after Women Changing Our World, a fabulous show that airs Mondays at 10:15 on the I Love CVille network. So the conversation we have today is we may never return to having the guests in studio, where they have to show up 15 minutes before the show, where there's more time consumption, where it's certainly more of a schedule creation for our guests driving to and from our studio, as opposed to them talking into this thing with their video and their camera, and essentially the same thing happening on the show. So this is a microcosm of the world. In the last 6 months, we've developed the skill set and the aptitude to do our jobs proficiently through an ISP or Wi-Fi or our home office. Will we return back to the offices? Only time will tell. I think many of us will, because we're social butterflies. Furthermore, I think the ones that return to the office setting will be the ones that are fast-tracked for promotions. I think the ones that return to the office setting will be the ones that have more vertical potential. But I don't think everyone's going to return to the same clip, volume, or frequency they once did. Good comment. James Watson. Scott says, why would the president of Liberty need to take a leave of absence? You're talking about Scott because he was on Instagram Live and his pants were undone? And he was next to a woman, and the woman he claims was his assistant, who also had her pants undone, and they were holding a cup that had black fluid in it in their hand. He swears it was just water that was dyed black and not a liquor drink. It was a bad look, Scott. It was a bad look. It was a bad look for Liberty U, and he's had some previous snafus with comments that he's made in the past, including athletes leaving Liberty because they don't feel that social justice is a priority at the school because of the president himself. You know, that's just my take. You may disagree. Patty Zeller has this comment. She's the owner of Animal Connection. She's a fabulous businesswoman, Patty Zeller. She says, the internet will never replace person-to-person interaction. I agree with that in a lot of ways, Patty, to a certain extent. So here's where I'm going with this. Today's consumer, especially the millennial and the younger generation, today's consumer, the millennial and younger, feels just fine shopping online or shopping in a 3D store or shopping through FaceTime. The older millennials and the demographics above or older than millennials, they, yes, prefer the in-person interaction. However, as the consumer buying base ages, the millennials and younger become an even larger portion. A new, younger demographic enters the market that has even more expertise and experience shopping online. And soon, and I'm not saying it's overnight, but soon the norm could very well be a personal FaceTime shopping assistant, or a 3D shopping experience, or you walk through the store with the clerk or owner and you see what they're seeing, and you can even touch tangibly eventually what they have on the shelves. That will, I think, not anytime soon, but that will eventually be the norm. Ray Cadell has a comment, the real estate agent. I had a real estate couple recognize me yesterday purely from being on your show, Jerry. After 30 plus years in town in real estate and music, I found it interesting that they mentioned your show, which of course they enjoy virtually. Thank you, Ray Cadell, for sharing that. Ray, I will reach out to you again about coming on the show. I always like your takes and your perspective. Scott says, Jerry, on behalf of the people that watch your show, I say thank you for upping your game. I live 200 plus miles away, and yet I watch your show literally every single day. Scott, thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. What we've become and what we did not intentionally strive to do, what COVID pushed us in the direction of, was in a lot of ways becoming news-oriented, topic and news-oriented. And as it's gained momentum, and it's really had an impact on viewership and the network in totality. Barbara Lundgren, she's the star of the Virginia Wedding and Event Showcase, airs Thursdays at 10:15 in the morning. Jerry, event buses are thoroughly cleaned between events and social distance. Also, they require masks. I love that, Barbara. I love that. I also love that we may now have a test where we can get results in 3 hours or less. I love that. I love the opportunity. All right. Thank you for watching today's program. Thank you. We appreciate you spreading the word about the I Love CVille show and how you spread the word for us. The only thing you have to do is hit the like button. Better yet, share it to your Facebook page or hit the like button on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Visit us at ilovecville.com. One more comment from Vanessa Parkhill. I admire Vanessa Parkhill. I remember meeting Vanessa, and I believe, Vanessa, your husband is Gary Parkhill. They have a son named Lee Parkhill. I believe your son's name is Lee, if memory serves correctly. Lee Parkhill I met while he was playing essentially Pee-wee football. And I was like, this kid is amazing. This kid is such a leader and so well-spoken, and was like looking at me in the eye and saying, yes, sir, and no, sir. And he literally had like a take and had something to say and backed it up with merit and like evidence to back up his. I was like, this dude is amazing. Then I watch him go through St. Anne's Belfield and really mature, and now, I mean, it just blossomed into a man. So this family's great. Vanessa Parkhill says this: I have two 20-something kids. They are both very thankful to have jobs in these crazy times. Shopping online may become their norm, but our son can't wait to get into the office with his colleagues. I believe it. And why I believe that, Vanessa, is because your son is like a team player. He grew up in team sports. There is something to be playing and working in an office setting with people around you, and you're working to a common goal, and you feel like you're part of a team. You feel like you're part of a team. Well said, Vanessa Parkhill. Thank you for watching. Please, my best to your family and your son. Please pass that along to them. All right, I'm going to close on this note. And I'm going to close on this note because I think it's important for us to have perspective. Okay? I'm a cautious optimist. A cautious optimist. Consumer confidence won't truly be back to where it once was until we have a vaccine. And when we do have a vaccine, not everyone's going to take it. We don't all take the flu vaccine, do we? Why would we all take the COVID vaccine? There's people that won't, and that's their prerogative. It's America. Okay? Regardless, I'm going to close with Miller's Minute, brought to you by Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, Judah Woodcower, changing people's lives through sports medicine, physical therapy, and chiropractic care. Dr. Wagner has your back. I'm going to close with Miller's Minute by saying this. We saw the jobless claims report last week under 1 million people for the first time since COVID. Home builder sentiment is at an all-time high. People feel more confident right now building homes than they've ever felt before. We have so much market positive news. A test that the FDA has cleared that can deliver results in 3 hours or less that's only going to cost $10. Okay? We have so much market positive news. Think about the positive when the media inundates us with the negative. Think about a $10 test when you're hearing about hospitalizations and cases. Think about a 3 hours or less on the results when you're hearing that a vaccine may not be till next year. Think about a home in the city of Charlottesville, Keith and Jonas Smith's listing, selling in less than 24 hours with 9 offers in a bidding war, going under contract in less than 24 hours. Think about that. We're turning. We're turning. Now we manage. Now we got to manage until we get a vaccine. Now we got to manage until we get a vaccine. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. It's the I Love CVille Show. You have a good one.